Hello and welcome to Guitar Mageddon. I'm your host Hans. Let's get after it. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about diatonic chords and specifically the 1-4-5 chord progression that winds up being kind of the skeleton and or outline of any song you're playing, and that goes for major, minor, blues, and even jazz. So what does that mean? So we measure music with the scale. There are 7 tones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tones before it repeats. On each one of those tones, you can build a chord. A chord is the whatever root note you pick. You skip a letter, and you skip a letter. But I'm just taking this C major chord and I'm building a chord on the first note, so we call that a 1 chord. That's what I mean by a numerical system. Now if I built a chord on the second note, call that a 2 chord. If I built a chord on the third note, we'd call that a 3 chord. But you'll never guess what happens when we build a chord on the 4th note. You guessed it, we call it a 4 chord. So 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, and there's only 7 tones before we recycle back to the top. Each one of those has a rigid quality. But the easiest way for me to remember is to mental note that the 1st, 4th, and 5th chord is always going to be major. And all the rest are minor. Makes it way easier to remember it that way. So for example, 1 chord's major, 2 chords minor, 3 chords minor, 4 chords major, 5 chords major, 6 chords minor, 7 chord is diminished, and then you recycle back to the top. But an easier way to remember that for me is to just remember 1, 4, and 5 are major, and the rest are minor. So when you're in a major key, the outline for any of those is going to be the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 1, and the 5. 1, 4, 1, 5. So that was a 1-4-5 chord progression in the key of C, or I should just say a major key, because the same formula works for all of them. Now, as I mentioned before, when you're in minor keys, you can build chords the same way. So I'm going to do a minor scale, harmonic minor specifically, but we'll circle back to that. Here, when I build a chord on the first note, it's minor. And when I build a chord on the 4th, it's also minor. But when you're in harmonic minor, your 5 chord is a major chord. That winds up sounding like this. And if you were to jazz it up a little bit, so I like to share with all my students the power of just understanding how that works. Because you can play that's the key of G. It's the key of D, so on and so forth. It's the same formula for all the different keys. Now, one of the interesting things about music is that it has other chords. Those 3 chords are just the outline of just about any song you play. And once you understand that, it'll be easy to identify a chord that sticks out. So 6 chord, 5 chord, 7 chord. But you see how that kind of stands out now that your ear is used to this. When you hear something different, you're like, ah. And then you've got a 1 out of 4 chance of getting it, even if you just guessed randomly. So this even applies for the blues. It goes 1 chord, 4 chord. So the 1, 4, 5 is the outline of music, and that's why we go over it thusly. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time. Leave some comments below if you have any ideas on any videos or anything you want to know. I'm here to make music. I'm here to make videos and help you guys out. Catch you next time.